TUG HD2 Northport, W265CG Tuscaloosa, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 HD2 Northport, W265CG Tuscaloosa, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. A Townsville media station.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we played the summer, and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. And you was tall enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and I learned that system back fast. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show fan page can also be a place for you to find the show being broadcast live at Martin Houston Live on Facebook and on YouTube. Also, you can find us on Tide 109 on Facebook and the DC Capstone Report, as DC will be joining us this morning on Facebook as well. And don't forget to follow, like, and share at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Glad to be with you live and local and ready to get things rolling on this beautiful morning, remembering that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Don't wait on someone else to make a difference. You make the difference. I want to invite you to get in on the conversation this morning. 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904. Spring ball is literally just around the corner, as the first practice will be this Friday. We'll talk to DC about this Alabama Crimson Tide team getting things rolling. We'll talk about potential depth chart for the Alabama Crimson Tide and what or who may step up. We'll talk about returning players. We'll talk about that. Is this Alabama's best linebacker room under Nick Saban, or is this potentially one of the best linebacker rooms ever at Alabama? We'll have those conversations and more. But before we get into that, I want to talk about a story we saw that broke yesterday, and hoping and praying that this young man gets things right. But yesterday, news broke that Calvin Ridley was suspended for at least a year for gambling on a football game, NFL game. And it sounds like it was a one-time thing during a 5-day period when he was out of the game, had taken some time last October for mental health, and was, praying that he had got all of that situated and was ready to make a comeback. But doesn't appear that he's going to be able to make that comeback in 2022. Love to hear your thoughts on this situation. Suspended for a year for gambling, and got a letter from the commissioner saying for decades that gambling on the NFL game has been one of the most egregious violations when it comes to the NFL. And Mason, I want to talk to you. What's your first thoughts on? Do you think the punishment fits the crime here? I'd like to get your thoughts on that before I go into another point on it.
No, it doesn't fit the crime. They just made an example out of him. I mean, the way I look at it, he didn't hurt anybody. Obviously he knows he did something wrong. He's not stupid. He's aware of what he did, and he appears to be ready to accept the consequences. So he's not really fighting it or anything. But I absolutely think I think it's an absurd punishment for what he did. He didn't do anything. He didn't really do anything that bad. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't bet against his team. He didn't, there was no insider information traded between him and any teammates. I don't really see anything that wrong with what he did.
And when you think about the NFL and some of the stuff they've let guys get away with, and some of the guys they've not suspended or only suspended after videos come out and different things like that. I agree with you. Like I said, this is not whether I agree with gambling or not. This is like when I saw that he was suspended for a year, I had not heard like what he had done other than he bet on games. So when you hear that he's bet on games, right, Mason, are you thinking like I was, like, oh my God, this guy has a problem, and he may have a problem. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm thinking, oh my, this is what led to him. You know how your mind works. This is why he left, because he was having a problem. He had got to the point where he may have been throwing games, and I didn't say this out loud to anyone. I'm just saying I'm thinking this in my head because I heard the punishment, and they didn't. I mean, the punishment of a year. And hey, listen, if the rules say any gambling equals a year, then so be it. You know what I mean? That's what it is. I'm not gonna say if you're speeding and you get a speeding ticket and you're going 50 in a 45, and it has a set penalty, and you go 50 in a 45, you're speeding, you broke the law, you get whatever the punishment is. However, if the if the punishment, like if you're going 25 and you go 26 and they have some leeway, you know what I mean? Then use the leeway, but maybe they don't have it. So back to my point on this is Mason, I mean, when you heard the suspension, before you had the details, did you think maybe this is what led to his mental collapse, his mental break last year, meaning not break in terms of him being broken, but him taking a break away from the game? Did you think this had anything to do with it?
I don't know if this necessarily had anything to do with him stepping away.
No. I'm not asking you if it did. I'm saying when you hear the punishment, I don't think it had anything to do with it because it didn't happen until afterwards. I'm saying before you get to details and you hear Calvin Ridley's been suspended for a year for gambling, did you think, oh, he gambled in a 5-day period? Or did you think this kid may have had a problem with gambling?
Okay. Yeah, my initial reaction was not, that I thought maybe he had a problem or anything. My first reaction when I saw the story was just, he probably made a mistake somewhere and just placed a bet. He was out of football for a while at that point in time. I think, even he tweeted last night that he was not even really watching football when it was happening. So he was so disconnected. I think he was just out. He was having a good time. He decided to lay some bets down, and it's a stupid mistake, but
I think you had more information than when you got the story, because you wouldn't know when he bet unless you had that information. What I'm saying is, I heard the story, Mason. All I heard was it scrolls across. I'm in a restaurant and I see at the bottom, all it says at the bottom is Calvin Ridley suspended for a year for gambling on football games. And I'm going, crap, what happened? I don't know that he's out of football at that time. I don't know that he's only did it in a 5-day window. So it doesn't sound like a mistake the way they presented it. But what upsets me is I can remember growing up and I can remember hearing the powers that be making statements. We'll never allow anyone to ever bet on football. Are you old enough to remember those days? Not football players, but football used to take the high and mighty that they would not be. Now that doesn't mean that people didn't gamble going to Vegas and places like that. But what is the NFL doing now? They're partnered with people like DraftKings, right? I, I mean, they are sanctioning betting on football from a league standpoint. But only a few years ago, Roger Goodell himself was saying, "Oh, we never do that. We won't go down that path of where we are sanctioning it ourselves." Now they might go to Vegas, they might go to those places. So to me, to still have the same rule, is it a little hypocritical that they've now changed their take on it? And has that probably led to probably even more players taking chances, um, taking a one off here or there? I don't know if that's the case or not, but it just didn't set right. Like I said, I'm not saying I believe in it, support it, and sanction it. I'm just saying that from an NFL standpoint, I can remember when they used to take the high and mighty horse of we won't be a part of, from a league standpoint, we will not be a part of gambling on our game. And now they are. Is there a difference? Do you think there's a difference, Mason, from the players doing it individually and the league actually sanctioning it and being a part of it with their promos and partnerships?
You kind of got me stumped here because I want to say that I do think that if players themselves are the ones making these bets and it can affect the integrity. Hell, when the NFL is supporting it, like they're doing it themselves.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is like they're encouraging people. They're saying we're not encouraging the players to do it. So if a player is betting on a game that has nothing to do with his team or anything, is there a big difference? Is there, if there's no insider trading, there's nothing, no game was compromised, what's the difference in that player participating and the league sanctioning other people to do the same? I it just that's just what popped up in my head when especially when I found out that this was not a you know uh something that they didn't find a pattern. They didn't find something. It sounds like the way you described it, it sounds like he made a mistake, bet on one game, boom. But either way, good, bad, or indifferent. I hate it for him. Um, that he's going to have to sit out another year. Hopefully, this doesn't put a negative effect or damper or into his career, because you never know, especially a kid who was having some mental issues before. Maybe he just needed a break. Maybe this helps him. Who knows? But I will give the Falcons kudos. The Falcons could have got rid of this problem, potentially, and got something in exchange, but in good faith, they would not have trade talks, because quite a few teams came after Calvin during that break uh, at the end of the season, and they knew this was coming and did not put him on the trade block. So kudos to the Falcons for at least having some integrity when I'm not sure that the league does itself. Coming back on the other side, we'll bring DC into the conversation. We'll get his thoughts on this, and then we'll start talking a little bit of Alabama football or spring practice just around the corner. You listen to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet on the roadways as we begin our Tuesday morning. Of course, if you do see conditions, give me a call. 205-886-8886. With gas prices spiking, look at a Nissan and get up to 37 miles per gallon. Grab a deal today at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Tuscaloosa Gunsmith does gun repair, modifications, cleaning, Cerakoting, and laser engraving for guns, and they sell Black Rifle Coffee. Tuscaloosa Gunsmith, just off 15th Street behind the fire station.
Stop by Church's for the high-flying flavor combination of our Texas tenders and shrimp meal today. It's butterfly shrimp alongside made from scratch Texas tenders, served spicy or original for $6. Church's, welcome to the great state of flavor. Offer valid at participating locations.
What is the Townsend Nissan difference? Pricing is made easy, payments and finance options are made easy, and your trade-in value is very easy here at Townsend Nissan. No games, no gimmicks, just a super easy at-home buying experience. Right here at Townsend Nissan. And with pre-owned vehicles starting at $14,995 and all pre-owned units are clearly priced, your total shopping experience will be easy here in a safe and secure environment versus those big city dealers. And the funnest part will be deciding which Townsend Nissan vehicle you would take home today.
Your business has a story to tell. Let Fast Signs help you tell it using the right mix of visual communication solutions like signs, banners, digital displays, vehicle graphics, mobile marketing, and so much more. Give Fast Signs your business challenge, and they'll come up with a plan to grow your business, reach more customers, and accomplish more than you ever thought possible. Fast Signs, more than fast, more than signs. Visit Fast Signs at their new location, just past Tuscaloosa Ford on the left. Locally owned and operated by Milton and Gina Chancellor.
Weather brought to you by Tidwell Chiropractic, the only third-generation chiropractor in Tuscaloosa with over 24 years experience. Call Tidwell Chiropractic at 752-7503. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cloudy and cool today. More rain moving in this afternoon. That rain will continue tonight. The high today 56, tonight's low 42. Tomorrow cloudy, rain ending during the morning hours. The high tomorrow in the upper 50s at 59. I'm James Spann of the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 49 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmartdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904. Or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. Want to thank all of our great sponsors, especially the guys over at Overflow Express Wash. Overflow Express Wash, they will take care of you. Springtime is just around the corner. You want to get that old winter filth and dust off of your car, especially from all these days of rain. You want to go to Overflow Express Wash. They will help you keep your car clean inside and out. That's Overflow Express Wash, overflowexpresswash.com. 2 locations to serve you, one in Northport and just off of Highway 82, and one on Skyland Boulevard just past the Alabama 1 branch on the right, just before. Sorry. All right. Hey, let's get back into the conversation. We have DC Capstone Report joining us this morning. Good morning, DC. How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing great, Martin. How are you this morning?
Doing well. Wanted to wrap up a conversation I was having as we went to break there regarding Calvin Ridley. Unfortunate news about him being suspended. Quick recap: suspended for gambling on the game, on NFL games. It was during a 5-day period. No insider trading. Nothing that he did that was like, other than the fact that he gambled, which I'm not saying I agree with, but suspended for a year. And I asked Mason as we were going to break there, is it a little hypocritical that the NFL still has that, I guess is one and done almost for a year type of policy where they used to be. I mean, if you go back, you can see numerous times where they spoke and were like, "Hey, listen, we don't sanction it. We're not a part of it." But now they are. They sanction it. They have, you can turn on and watch the Mannings and others and all of this stuff as part of the NFL being a part of the gambling world, and I think officially sanctioned by the NFL. Are they hypocritical in the fact that they still have this rule, or is it still okay to have that same rule despite what the league has changed? How the league has changed?
Well, I think you see what has happened here is a situation where the league has subjective punishment. I don't think there is any written rule on this, and I think it's subjective, and they base themselves off precedent, things they've done in the past. The problem with that is that they don't have a precedent for this because this situation didn't exist in the past just because of what you just said. They didn't sanction gambling in the past. But now they sanction gambling. I believe if you look at it, Caesar Sportsbook is one of their big partners. They even have a stadium named after them in New Orleans for the NFL team there. So, and I believe the Caesar Sportsbook app is the app that they've been promoting all year, and including in their Super Bowl with the Mannings and all the other big name stars who do that. They have a partnership with DraftKings, and I think Calvin Ridley, if you look at it, was using this Caesar Sportsbook app to make a one-time bet during a 5-day period of time. So, I mean, in my opinion, not whether I support gambling or not, but whether I support fairness and justice, I don't know that that's done in this case. And then you take a look at the way they handle other issues. You look at other issues, drug use or domestic violence, or you can beat your wife on a videotape and have no doubt what happened and get a 4-game suspension. And then you get suspended for a year for betting on. Obviously didn't know what he was doing. Some of the professional bettors said that non-professional bettor would have bet an 8-game parlay because there's no way you could win something like that. So I mean, this is the kid who was taking some time off the game, wasn't doing anything in the integrity of the game. And so when I use that excuse, Martin, to me that is just a way for them to try to make themselves look better than they are. You can't tell me a kid, an NFL player, doing what they've already told everybody it's okay to do, what they've encouraged everybody to do. They can separate his integrity based from their integrity of the game and promoting such a betting. And so I don't like it. I think that he knew it was wrong, even from the letter. That if you read the letter, people gloss over this part. Grodgoodell commends him for cooperating and being truthful in everything he says, and then suspended for a year. You got people who dig their heels in when it's on domestic violence.
Right.
That's crazy. When you look at the practicalities of what's taking place here, it's not fair. It's nothing just about it. And so, in my opinion, I think the entire NFL ought to be. They're trying to use him as a scapegoat, as an example. And you know why? Let me ask you this question. You know why they're trying to use him as a scapegoat? Do you think Calvin Ridley is the only NFL player who is taking part in the voting apps that they have promoted?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. I think, and I think they know they have. However, whatever way they found out, they're trying to head off something that I think could become a big time problem for the NFL. I think that they're trying to make a decision today. I mean, they made a decision on what they did to him as hopefully something that will what do they call scared straight, where they put the kids in jail for a little while overnight or something, hoping that will stop them when they're 15 and 16. Versus letting them continue to go. So I think they're hoping that this type of punishment will scare the others and straight DC. And Curtis Moore asked the question. He said, I think it's harsh. Is he going to look into appealing it? From the way they make it sound, he can't appeal it until he wasn't suspended for a year. Let me correct something. He was suspended indefinitely. He can appeal. He can appeal to February of next year. From the way I read the letter and understand.
He can actually appeal the decision to suspend them from the league under the collective bargaining agreement, but I don't think he'll do that. I think he can petition the league after a year to be
reinstated, right?
To be reinstated.
Right. So this, we keep saying a year, DC. He was suspended indefinitely. So
That's the ability to repetition the league for a year, which everybody picks up on the year, but it's really longer than time. It's a very harsh punishment.
Yeah.
It's very harsh what he did. The punishment in the old days said that the punishment fit the crime. Well, absolutely not. Not in this situation. I mean, the consequences from a person beating their wife in the elevator ought to be a lot more than a person who bets on a game. It just shows you what the NFL wants to do. They're trying to protect their pockets, their livelihoods by making this whole partnership work and trying, like you said, to scare all the other players into saying, "Hey, if he gets the game, if he gets the definitely for being out of the game and betting on 3 times and he only bet on his own team to win. What'll happen to me if I'm playing? I bet on the game. I might get bet for life." So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. And once again, he can appeal the decision, but he can't petition the league for a year. So I'm sure the Players Association is probably preparing something for him now. DC, we got Pat. Pat, thanks for your patience. You're in with DC, Capstone Report, and the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, can you say Charlie Hustle?
I can. What is that?
Pete Rose.
Yeah.
It's now. He's now 80 years old, and what he did was wrong. Blah blah blah. But hey, at least he was with a team per se, but he was not. He was injured reserve, for lack of a better terminology. But I mean, I don't know. I disagree with any athlete doing anything with gambling. Period. Hey, I love Michael Jordan. Hey, and Michael's away from the game, and he's not with. Yeah, and he is with a team. He owns one, for God's sake, you know. Mm-hmm. And hey, and whether you bet on a golf game or whether you bet on an ant race, you know, hey, you're still gambling. What do y'all think?
Well, I guess what's your question?
I'm just saying is that there's not a whole lot of difference. And I disagree with punishing him for a year. However, you got to set a precedent for gambling. Period. In sentence. We can't have the integrity of any game questioned. I mean, it would be the end of sports as we know it.
So Pat, let me ask you this. So the people that they are now encouraging to bet on games, who do they have? Who do they have relationships with?
The casinos,
the players.
Anybody that controls the money, they got all.
No. All these fans have relationships with players as well, and coaches, and trainers, and all of that. And now the NFL has invited gambling into the game. Do you think that all of a sudden the people who had relationship with all of those people I just named, once they could start betting sanctioned through the NFL, you don't think they started asking those guys, what's up with? Hey, I know what Schefter said, but what's really up with what's the name hamstring? I'm not saying they gave him that information. I'm saying they made a fundamental change that they were opposed to as a league. As a league, they made a fundamental change and started sanctioning. When the money got so good through these apps and all of that they decided, hey, we need to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's what the hypocrisy is on that. That's my only concern.
Oh, yeah, y'all absolutely right. Hey, but DC, I want to get to the gist of my call this morning that Isaiah Bond, the fastest 200-meter time in the country. Hey, our new potential wide receiver. Hey, is Coach Saban not great? Is he not the GOAT? Hey, it's incredible what Coach Saban does with recruiting. Come on, guys. Let's give him a cheer out.
No doubt about it. I mean, you need speed. He goes out and identifies the fastest man in the United States that he gets to in his class.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Hey. Yeah.
Great evaluator of talent. No doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. I got to give a shout out to my cousin up in Kentucky. She just broke a 40-year-old record, Abby Steiner, in the 200-meter women at 2:22.06 for 200 meters. A 40-year-old record. Is that not crazy or what?
But hey, you tell Abby Steiner we said congratulations down here in Tuscaloosa, and send her a copy of the Facebook video or tweet it to her, and she'll be able to hear you giving her a shout out, Pat. All right. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, y'all have a blessed day, fellas.
You too. All right, coming back on the other side, DC. We got a couple comments on the Calvin Ridley thing that we'll get to. We'll also talk a little spring ball with you with that coming up on Friday. You listen to the Martin Houston Show. We have DC Capstone Report on with us for the entirety of the show. Remember, the Taco Casa hotline is open for business while he's on. You can call in, have a conversation with him, talk to him, ask him a question. 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet on the roadways as we begin our Tuesday morning. Of course, if you do see conditions, give me a call. 205-886-8886. With gas prices spiking, look at a Nissan and get up to 37 miles per gallon. Grab a deal today at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard, right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Garrett Dvorak throw a virtual baby shower for his wife, Ellie.
Just to see everyone's expressions, I don't have words for it.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month per line for 4 lines, you could save up to $80 per month.
Total Wireless, you guys pulled through.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. 5G capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans at the leading carrier for 2021. See terms and conditions at totalwireless.com.
COVID-19 has disrupted our lives, but it won't have the last word. We will. Across Alabama, thousands are getting vaccinated to protect themselves and others. Find out where you can get the COVID vaccine today at alabamaunites.com. Please get vaccinated. If you have symptoms, also get tested for COVID-19. Alabama Unites Against COVID. Sponsored by the ADPH, the ABA, and this station.
Has the pandemic affected your business? Even with more and more customers going online in the past last 5 years, online business has grown greatly due to the pandemic. Now more than ever, it's important to have a strong online presence so that customers can find your business and products easily. That's where Townsquare comes in to help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis to see how your business stands up to the competition. And if you're one of the first to sign up, you'll get $500 in free advertising on this radio station. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
How do you make the most of your land? If you ask the Wrens, who run with us on a John Deere mower, they tell you.
I mow first, then I do all the trimming.
But the Hubbards, who work behind the wheel of a John Deere compact tractor, would say.
If it's something you want, just go after it and try it.
Then there's the Mosers, who may mention from the seat of their John Deere Gator UTV.
You can't be all working on play.
There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Ass big.
Have you seen our artisan created diamonds? If you've been in a room with one, you can't miss it.
Tom Osmond from Fincher and Osmond.
It's a diamond like I've never seen.
He's seen a lot of diamonds.
Ask big.
At Fincher and Osmond, you can put artisan created diamonds side by side with mined diamonds.
More importantly, when she sees it,
Fincher.com.
McFarland, Edgar's, and local.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
It's yours. Whose world is this?
You're back in with the Martin Houston Show with DC Capstone Report. DC, we got David from Georgia who wants to talk with you. David, you're in with DC. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning. I hope you're doing well.
Doing well.
I have a different perspective than you guys on the Calvin Ridley situation. And the reason I can do that is because I live here in Georgia and Atlanta. And first of all, let me preface it. I'm no big fan of the NFL. I especially despise the Atlanta Falcons. but given that, when Calvin first came here, he was kind of like a young man that's never been to the big city, okay? He got a mentor named Julio Jones. And basically, Julio took him under his wing. And Calvin was the perfect citizen.
Yep.
Perfect player from Falcons. To give you a little funny sideline story, but he drove a piece of crap car. The guy makes $10 million a year. He drove a piece of crap car. He had an average apartment. The reason I know that, my son lives in the same complex. Well, anyway, he had Julio took care of him, guided him, made him one of the best receivers in the NFL overnight. That's how big an influence. Well, fast forward to last year. Guess who gets traded out of town? Julio Jones.
Right.
It is my opinion the day Julio took off, it affected Calvin very greatly. Okay?
Wow.
Very greatly. I mean, I could go all day on why I think the Falcons are, since the 60s, have been a kind of a disappointment at best. But all of a sudden, Calvin doesn't have the enthusiasm. September, which he played, he really kind of had an average September. And all of a sudden, he just decides, hey, I've got some mental problems. Calvin don't have any mental problems. And he realized he's stuck staying in Atlanta Falcons. That was his problem. And the thing about, and from then on, they kept saying, well, he's not happy or whatever the problem was. They never really put their finger on the problem. What it really was, Calvin didn't, his mentor was gone. And, he just wasn't into playing for the Falcons. And so the Falcons, kind of gave out some propaganda about the kid. And I'm telling you right now, You know what drives the NFL? It's gambling. And tell me those players are not doing the same doggone thing, you're kidding yourself. Okay? You're kidding yourself. So basically, you know, they've been frustrated with him since. They're paying him all this money, and they've been frustrated with him. And I've even heard the owner say a few things about him. But they're just making him an example because they couldn't dig up any other dirt on the kid. What he's
So
done,
you think the Falcons turned him in, or somebody within the Falcons?
I mean, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I'm not going to give you any names here, but the owners, he's very powerful. He's a Home Depot guy.
Yeah, I know.
Very powerful man. And quite honestly, if you want to ruin your career as an athlete, just come play with the Falcons. Can you imagine? Get this, man. Like I say, sometimes I think, where you guys live in state Alabama, where I live over here, sometimes y'all think the only Alabama fans are really in the state of Alabama, and that's not. There's more of us than there are you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, if you trash who can trash Julio Jones? One of the greatest players ever played the game. But Atlanta and the Falcons, they sure can. I can tell you that right now. So yeah, I really think all of a sudden Calvin, when he left town, when Julio left town, excuse me.
Wow.
That's when all of a sudden Calvin turned into a dummy. He was sharp as a tack before Julio took off.
What?
But yeah, that's fine if you want to say the Falcons look like they did try to treat him right. No, they have not treated the kid right.
Oh wow.
But
no, I wasn't saying. I wasn't saying that when I said that they had integrity around not trading him. I wasn't talking about from Calvin's standpoint. I was talking about that they didn't trade it to another NFL team and leave it on them. I wasn't saying that how they treated Calvin. The integrity part, I was talking about the fact that they could have traded Calvin probably to several teams, and he would have been, that team's problem when the suspension came. So, but
just keep in mind, the NFL in the year 2022, it's run by freaking gambling. That's what's driving the whole NFL. I don't care. But gambling's a major part
of their money.
Of the NFL.
Yep. Hey, David, I got to let you go, but that's I'm gonna get DC's thoughts on that. That's an interesting angle that I don't think that I know I had not thought about it. So, but I appreciate that insight and David, because you are bringing it from a different perspective. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, DC. What are your thoughts, man? I mean, that's an interesting angle there, and did the NFL go all in on this gambling because of the impact of COVID revenue?
I think the NFL is after the almighty dollar. I think they're going to go for whatever free money was. If they saw gambling as too much money to leave on the table, so they decided they would go ahead and make a decision. But here's my deal. I agree with the caller, David, who just said that Julio Jones was a great mentor for Calvin. He was. That may be a reason for Calvin to have left the team and all that sort of stuff and change his attitude. But it wasn't a reason for him to pick up the phone and bet on the game. That came because of the NFL made it so readily available for everybody, for all the fans, and pushed it themselves. So the hypocrisy to me is where you call out a young man for betting on the NFL and in a letter talk about the integrity of the game. When you sold the integrity out a long time ago to the betting, when you made a deal with the partnership of the betting. That sold the league at that point. So don't blame that individual who participated in what you're telling everybody to participate in. Say he sold out the integrity. Integrity sold out. It started a long time with Roger Goodell and the owners decided to say, hey, we can't leave this kind of money on the table. We gotta go ahead and do that. they made a decision to sell out the integrity of the game, not players who participated in something they were telling everybody to participate in.
Yeah.
Now, I
Go
think
ahead.
that what you're seeing here is, again, trying to their best to show a smoke screen that says, hey, we're going to still maintain the integrity of the game, and you can't do this, the players, so the other players don't do it, so that it doesn't lose more fans than they already losing. You know, the NFL is losing fans left and right, and they're grasping at straws trying to keep people engaged in the NFL, and partnering with these casinos and other gambling institutions have only gone to increase their revenue, but probably in their mind they see what could happen if all the players start betting on it, and that gets out to all the fans.
Yep. And because now you don't have trust in the game, and that's and they opened the can of worms. C.J. Watson said it's bad optics for the NFL to suspend a player for a one-time bet with the label of maintaining integrity, while others legitimately break the law and get nothing more than a slap on the wrist. It's a bad look. Curtis Moore II saying Josh Jordan gets many chances off drug abuse, and Calvin gets indefinite suspension for gambling, while suspend indefinitely without opportunity to appeal or to petition the league for reinstatement, while others virtually go unpunished. That's CJ and Curtis Moore. Hey, listen, if you just joined the Martin Houston Show, you're listening to DC Capstone Report on with the Martin Houston Show. DC, tell our listeners where they can find you, sir.
Well, you can find me at DCCapstoneReport.com, DC Capstone Report Facebook page, or you can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50. Also, my partner Lance Shores has some other great sites, freelancepictures.com and RollTideBama.com. About to start putting up some Alabama content. Lance has some great pictures and other things we get up to the spring game, so be watching for those pictures and videos coming on his site.
All right, a couple of quick things, DC. We'll of course have all of spring break. Nick Saban back at it, getting that first practice in before he leaves the players or releases the players, I should say, for spring break. What are you most excited about as you look at the start of spring practice?
Well, I'm excited, first of all, that we're getting back to talking about football. Alabama playing football again. I'm excited to see what we're going to put together. Look forward to seeing, what we're going to do with our offensive line, what we're going to do with our wide receivers, and are we going to be able to develop? Who's going to be that second string quarterback that's going to develop into taking over if something happens to Bryce Young? I think we need that depth there, need some experience. And I'm looking forward to looking at our transfer players in, see where they fit in. Is Ja'Marr Gibbs the answer running back? Is he the real deal? See how he works. And believe it or not, I want to see, when you hear this, you're going to say, how can it be? How much has Will Anderson improved during the offseason? Has he used his feelings at the end of the year of not reaching the championship to really fuel him to even get better? And can you imagine Will Anderson better than he was last
Yeah,
year?
no, but I hope to see it. Speaking of Will Anderson in Alabama, when you look at linebackers overall, not just the outside linebackers, but linebackers as a whole. Is this potentially Alabama's best group? I mean, like, I know it may be. First of all, let's answer it from the Saban side, and then let's answer it from the all-time side. But we got Will Anderson, and of course Dallas Turner at the outside linebacker position. And by the end of the year, he was playing some pretty good football. Henry To'oTo'o was there, and Jalen Moody. You would think Jalen Moody would be the guy, but I think he gonna have to fight to keep some of them studs behind him out of there. But just taking those four guys, is this one of Nick Saban's best groups before we talk about the guys that's coming in?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the best linebacker groups that Coach Saban's ever 4 guys, maybe 5 guys. You add in DeMoy Kennedy and maybe Blackshear. We're talking about some 5 or 6 guys there that's got some experience that plays at an elite high level of football. So you're talking about probably, I would say, the greatest returning linebacker core that Coach Saban's ever put on the field. And it could rival some of the best linebacking groupings of all time in Alabama.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention Deontay Lawson.
We got him come back.
Hey,
It goes 7 deep there at the linebacker.
and don't forget, we got 2 5-star outside linebackers coming with Jeremy Alexander and Jihad Campbell. Don't forget, Chris Braswell was the superstar of the spring game. I mean, it's like, okay, you know, now the question becomes, can Pete Golding and our new outside linebacker coach, can they get these guys coached up? But from just a pure talent standpoint, man, that's a lot of talent. And you know, you mentioned the Will Anderson, DC. You know, as a freshman, he down the stretch, he was, you could tell he was learning the game, and they said that during the offseason last year, however they measure it, I don't know how they measure it, but they have their measurements. He got 33% better or more efficient last year. If he can duplicate that, or don't even have to duplicate that type of number, there's just sky's the limit. But what, if anything, would you want to see Will Anderson improve in?
Well, I mean, I think there's several things that he can work on, and I think that his hand work, his footwork, these are minor details that you can't criticize or critique. These things that you just learn with experience. Footwork, hand work, his power, his spin moves, things to get him to the quarterback faster. I think all those things he can work on. I mean, that's nothing that we can critique. There's not a person in the college football game today that probably is able to work on those things because they haven't gotten the other fundamentals down. You just said, he got the fundamentals down in his freshman year to a point where he could improve 33% more in his sophomore year. If he makes that same leap in his junior year, you're talking about one of the greatest linebackers of all time, a collegiate linebacker that is possibly a major candidate for the Heisman Trophy if he's able to do that. So, you know, I think it's the little things now. The little things give him the little edge. You know, I heard, I guess it was Evan Neal in the Combine interview. Probably some of the best interviews you ever go back and listen to. And he was talking about things he can improve on. And he said, you know, it's hand placement, it's power, it's beat work. He says that he's gone up against the best outside linebacker ever in Will Anderson Jr. And he made Will Anderson better, and Will Anderson made him better. That's the type, when you're talking about getting better that way, that's the type of little small nuances that you can improve on. And I think you'll do just that.
Yeah. Did you? I don't know if you watched. Do you watch T.J. Watts much at the Steelers?
Yeah, I watch him some.
Yeah, you know, and to your point is, it's not that he's the most athletic, it's not that he's the fastest, but in the same way we talk about receivers who know how to run routes, and receivers who know how, you know, who have great wingspan, have great hands, you know, those same things, as you say, DC, come into a linebacker's play, and Will Anderson, if he can get better on hand extension, meaning getting the guys, you know, off. Um, and, and I guess if you want to see an improvement, not that it's bad, is just, you know, his run, I guess, run play, run defense, not bad. It's just, there's not a whole lot that, you know, you just want to see him do. And I think you're going to see them move him around more this year, DC. I think with the fact that offensive linemen are getting smaller, and the fact that you have so much depth at outside linebacker, I think there's going to be some times where we have, you know, 5-6 linebackers on the field and 1 or 2 defensive linemen out there versus just the DBs. So, but hey, DC, I toss it to you for your closing thoughts, man.
Well, I think one thing to look at is Coach Saban is a master at doing these things. I mean, people say, well, why does he have practice on the Friday before spring break? You watch Coach Saban's practice; it's a strategic thing. And so I think that when he gets their minds right before they go off for spring break, so when they come back, we have less problems. And I think seeing him do that every year, we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to watch this spring. He's coming in motivated. So I'm excited to see what Coach Saban does. He's coming in motivated to help establish the identity of this team in spring practice. I think we've seen last year's team's identity had to take a long time to develop, and I think that was one of our downfalls down the stretch. I think let's see what the idea of this team is when it comes out of spring practice. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to that as well as we head towards spring practice. Alabama headed into this spring with possibly 2 of the best leaders they've ever had at the same time coming back. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, respectively, on each side of the ball. Hey, that's DC Capstone Report. You can find them at dccapstonereport.com. Thanks, DC. Roll Tide.
Thanks, Martin. Have a great day. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Hey, thanks to all the callers, listeners, viewers, chatters, and all of you who comment and post. We appreciate you. Thanks, Mason, for all you do. Hey, for the Martin Houston show, remember this: trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, guys.